All right, here we go. We are live. Great to be here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. My name is Matthew Britt. As always, my good friend and business partner, Mr. Jim Gale. We are live here with Seeds of Abundance. Jim, how are you, man?
Fantastic, brother. I'm actually driving home right now. My wife is driving. We came to Minnesota for my mom's celebration of life, which was amazing. We had so many people get up and tell stories about how my mom changed their life and supported them. It was so beautiful. And then I wanted to bring my family up to the North Shore and the North Woods. So we actually drove up a few days ago, and we spent 3 days in a cabin in the middle of the North Woods on the edge of Superior National Forest and the Boundary Waters. We walked out in the morning to a little lake, caught a bunch of fish, and just enjoyed the campfire. It was absolutely amazing.
Wow. Well, it's great that you're able to hop on here today. Thank you for making that.
Yeah, and in case it cuts out, there is a dead spot ahead up here in this in this area. So in case it cuts out, you guys keep rambling and keep the flow, and I'll jump on when I can.
All right, well, fantastic. And we have an awesome guest today who I recently heard on another podcast, Pro 777. And as I was listening to it, I was really blown away. I'd known about the product, not his in specific, but zeolite in general. And as I was listening to Crow and hearing Matthew talk, I just thought, man, we got to talk to this guy and hear what he's been able to do and how impactful it's been. And knowing some of the things that he's done, I really wanted him to be able to share his story and share his company. So Matthew Hazen, welcome to Seeds of Abundance, my man.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to get to collaborate with you guys and share out some good information and actual truth and quantifiable evidence and analysis and real facts instead of story time like we see so much in the world lately. Great stories, but if you critically think a little bit, it doesn't add up. And yeah, we're going to get it. It's really funny, Matthew. You reached out to us, but me and Jim Gale, I got to tell you, I don't know him. But I know him, and I'll tell you why. Two of the guys that I hold very dear what they tell me about people, situations, and things, and how they take in the world and whatnot. These two guys know Jim very well enough to unabashedly say he's one of the most incredible guys around. They just can't say enough good things about him. So it's really funny. We got to cross paths at the Red Pill Expo about a month or two ago or so. Yeah, he was up there with a gentleman I used to that I knew of, and Pat Militic, who'd been at Bettendorf, Iowa, and had all those UFC champions for a long time. And I just ended up knowing Jim and seeing him. I'm like, you know this guy? Because they had talked about him. Like, yeah, so it's funny that we cross paths now we're on the show. So
yeah, what a small world. That's fantastic.
That's right.
Yeah. And Pat's a great friend of ours, collaborator with us here at Food Force Abundance. He's part of our Earth Council and doing some remarkable things about healing the soil. Just like a bit about as well. So we'll dive into some of that. First off, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about where they can find you, about human consciousness support and what you've been doing.
Yeah, so I was the original creator of a company called Human Consciousness Support. Basically tells you its mission right there. We don't believe in supplementing or manipulating. We believe in supporting the human consciousness. And one of the best ways that we found we can do that is by everyone realizing the simple truth that they are magical, harmonious. They heal their bodies, heal themselves really well, as long as they're not poisoned and not full of a bunch of heavy metals, forever chemicals, all these unnatural pollutants and environmental poisons that are rampant in our soil, but in our land, our air, our water, and all living beings. And so the whole reason why a perfect, harmonious, balanced ecosystem, environment, and the inner environment of our bodies aren't working how we should is because we've been poisoned. So we have all forms of radiation poisoning, and what we're concentrating on here today is chemical poisoning, which is forever chemicals, microplastics. You've heard of heavy metals, aluminum, chlorine, fluoride, all these man-made, unnatural things that destroy the functioning of anything that we could talk about. And we can talk about the soil, but when we're talking about reducing those levels, which is supporting the consciousness of a human being. See, if you're not poisoned and you're not dimmed down and you're not third eye blind and you don't have a bunch of arsenic, lead, aluminum, BPAs, graphene oxide, we've spent the money, we've done the time, we've taken people's blood levels in clinical, scientific, medical, controlled, placeboed, randomized medical studies that are peer-reviewed now. The first one's peer-reviewed. The second one will be as soon as we get completed with it. And what we found is every time we take people's blood, no matter if they've been vaxxed or not, they have 20 glyphosate, right? Phosgene, which is a neurotoxin. You got things like fluoride. There's 3 types of fluoride. It's in everybody. The levels are high. It doesn't matter who you are. So getting those things out of your body and out of your mind and your brain means you'll be able to think better, feel better, live better, be more connected to your environment. You're definitely going to sleep better. You're going to start dreaming again. Most people, about 90% of people, claim a huge increase of dream vividness. And bottom line, then your body gets to be what it's naturally doing, which is just being. Now it can heal itself and pleomorphosize and all these things that our bodies, I don't want to get into too far of a conversation with it, but, and we can take that same antidote and solution that we have provably now, and we can put it into a soil package where we can get it so it's going to clean out the intra and intercellular levels of the soil, of the unnatural things. And then the soil gets all the minerals it needs, and it can, it's a huge jump to getting the soil back in its best shape. We can also do it into the air. You can chemtrail dispense this stuff. Instead of chemtrailing graphene oxide and aluminum, you can chemtrail MasterPeace. And so, you're talking about something that is, we're only a year old. We've been attacked very much bad. I've had FDA has seized $70,000 in ocean water and called it a drug, and then just basically probably pushed over the New York harbor. I don't know what they don't even answer our things, no matter how we contact them. Health Canada, we have customs everywhere. We've had well coordinated smear campaigns already, and the big thing is we're dealing with something that actually can help the world. It definitely goes against the culture and society and the controlling structure that is here, because let's say you start, what do you do if you have 80,000 plus forever chemicals? And let's say in 3 months' time, if you are the same as these test subjects, let's say 80% of them are out of your body. What do you do at that point? Do you buy the same amount of non-prescription drugs, allergy pills, Tylenol? Do you take the prescription pills? Do you go to the doctor to get diagnosed with something to get pills? No, because you're feeling too good. You start thinking a lot clearer. You're living better. You're affecting your community, your environment. And so if you think about like 4 or 5 billion people taking this formula and having a higher consciousness, that's a real good way to improve and leave our world a better place, because it needs it right now, right? There's not a lot of people out there fighting for the best of us. Not in a selfless way. They, all too often show that they're actually trying to do it for some money or power or whatever can come their way, And so we got an incredible team of the most well-intentioned human beings that are here for all the right reasons, and we're watching testimonials pour in every day. We've already in over 70 countries. We didn't do this with investors. We did. I had a moving company. It was Matt Senna, the gentleman that was just on the thing. Yeah, if I needed something researched, he went in there and researched it out. And then I was taking money from a moving company and investing it into it to get it off the ground. And everybody else started coming along when we started stockpiling evidence and actual analysis of how bad, soil samples. I know you guys probably seen about 1 million of them, I know here, but these soil samples that are done at Logan's lab, I know you probably can't see any of the writing. I'm not going to bore us with it, but that comes from, these soil samples were given to me by a gentleman named Mike. He is, as he calls it, the largest organic farming practices supplier in the United States. He He does it for 4,500 farm fields, and most of the people he deals with are like Amish, Mennonite, those kind of types. That's most of his customers, as he says. But they always take these soil reports about every 2 years. And he's been doing this. He's 77. He's been doing this 5 decades. Our soil in the last 3 years, the aluminum especially, now it's coming out to basically every test he's doing comes out to what equates. See, the number will say 500 on aluminum. Like this one says 611, and then this one says 871. You take that number times 2. So 611 would be 1,222 by doubling it. And that is the amount of pounds per acre of aluminum that showed up out of the thin blue air on organic farm fields that have never used chemicals in 100 years on the field. And it's a farm field. And so now we know we're getting nailed with this aluminum. We're getting nailed with this graphene oxide. If graphene oxide is in people, whether they've been jabbed or not, whether they live in this country or that country, like we've proven, that means they're transfecting us from all around us. The one thing we all have in common is we all breathe that air. You know, we all have a little bit different food supply. They put it in different things probably, but we are living in a very bizarre world. Sci-fi, it's so hard to even when you see the stockpile of evidence that, you know, do people realize in America, call a naturopath doctor, tell them you want a live blood analysis, and because you're looking at getting healthy, it'll cost you $170 probably. They're going to do it. And guess what? There's not one single person they've done live blood analysis for, which they use the equipment, a dark field microscope. Since 2021, they can't find a human being now that doesn't have this graphene biosystem, this self-replicating, self-assembling graphene construction sites, which is very bizarre and sounds crazy to people. They would be like, you've got to be nuts. No. How about this? Call a naturopath doctor, tell them you want live blood analysis, and then when you're in there, ask them, because that is the fact. And so we're living in a freaking spooky world, right? And so we have this acute danger of this graphene biosystem that we have to, you don't want to get attached to the Internet of Bodies and all this weird stuff that W-band. And so the way to do that, if you don't want a MAC address, if you don't want to be a MAC address, you need to get graphene lowered out of your body faster than it's coming in.
Yeah.
And so we made a very affordable, it was made for humanity, the biggest labor of love for humanity. You know, we now know that the formula works in a lot of different aspects because it's very natural. It's actually only 2 ingredients.
Well, tell us about those ingredients. What's in there?
So the first ingredient is what you would call sea plasma. And it's structured. So sea plasma is basically water and minerals in the right balance. When you dilute it down enough so it's the same saline content as your blood, which means it's iso or the same isotonic, you can use it for blood transfusions, and it's a lot better than anything else they use. It is 99.7% identical to your extracellular fluids, which means your blood, and which means what's called your interstitial fluid, which is your body ocean, which is what comprises 27 of the 40 liters of blood in your body. So you're talking about the majority of the fluids in your body, it's basically identical to, or over 99%. And so when you support your body with healthy, structured self, that it's harmonizing to a healthy self, that is a very good nourishment. So that's the nourishment part. That's the minerals, right? Because you're 99% water molecules, and the other 9/10 of that 1% is minerals. So you're like 99.99% minerals and water. So you want to take in the same balance of minerals and water and structured like you're structured, and then take it in. And then what you want to do is, now listen to this. What happens if when Mother Earth, Mother Nature is stressed out? What if it triggers stuff, the heat and the fever, kind of like your body has a fever to release? What happens if it releases a lava and has what is it called? What is that damn thing called? When the lava, what is it called when the lava comes out?
The eruption?
Volcano. Jeez Louise, dog. Look at my mind. Okay. I know everything else. I can't remember volcano. So sweet. So so when the Earth sends out a volcano, and almost a tornado, and it goes into the ocean water,
Yeah.
it makes zeolite. It's zeolite. And so here's what's funny, right? You're mostly water. Well, so is Earth. So if you want to figure out how to clean up Matthew, you would want to first, what's the biggest way I can clean up my fluids, my body ocean, right? My water. So what they do on Earth, if you want to find the cleanest water on Earth, the cleanest water on Earth is right there at zeolite beds. If you test the ocean water, which is mineral water, which is what you're made of, okay, it's 99.9% of you. Where in Mother Nature is what is molecularly 99.7% of you, where is that the cleanest? And it's in zeolite beds. Why? Zeolite's just a mineral. Why is it so clean there? Well, because it's the most magnetic mineral. It has a highly negative magnetic charge. And all the poisons that we incur, almost all of them, have a positive charge. So it magnetically finds them, binds to them, neutralizes their charge, which means it's not going to be in terms of graphene oxide. It's a big deal because graphene oxide, the self-assembly, all that needs paramagnetics. The electromagnetic frequency is the paramagnetic, and it follows it and does all that. Well, you neutralize its charge, then it's not going to be able to work. But it doesn't just neutralize the charge and leave it in there, because zeolite, it's a mineral that comes from a 2,000 degree lava that goes into cold ocean water, and one of the most beautiful chemical processes happens. Well, that mineral is indestructible. It definitely is not digestible or metabolizable for your body. So it's very, very safe. It's inert, but it's indigestible. So it goes in your body. We turn it into a smallest nano size, which means it's small enough to get inside of your cells, get way past your blood-brain barrier, go everywhere in your body that water goes, so it can reach all the poisons. You've been breathing in, taking in poisons your whole life. They're forever chemicals because they're forever. They don't come out. And that's why we get diminished. That's why we don't think correctly. That's why everything goes to pot in our physical. That's why we're in a worldwide health epidemic. And so the zeolite binds to those toxins and then leaves your body safely. And we're testing the levels in people. We're doing peer-reviewed papers on it and releasing it. And we're getting out with 10 drops a day, people can get out a lot more than they got coming in.
Wow. Yeah. You're right. People are being bombarded with this stuff, and it happens with the children, and it is happening through the mother and their umbilical cords attaching to the baby.
Yes.
So that the poisoning is beginning for that new life before he's even come into the world. And then they're born, the bombardment continues, right? Line up to get your wellness checks where they begin to inject things into you, which have a long history of metals in them, along with chemicals.
No, we got the active and inactive ingredients. And Dr. Robert Young, I bet you'll probably want to have him on the show. He will just blow you away. But he's the only one that's actually published against Pfizer and all of the pharmaceutical companies. He got a lot of heat for this one. All their active and inactive ingredients, because he has an electron microscope. He registered them, he tested them, and he exposed all those people. There's not one ingredient in the vaccines, any vaccines, by the way, that's healthy for a human being. In fact, there's about 20 ingredients that if you gave one of those ingredients to your kid, you'd be arrested and probably not let to have your kid back. You know, you can't give your kid formaldehyde, right? They tend to think you're a bad parent, right? But you can, you got to give them their vaccines, which is formaldehyde, so they can't go to their school system and learn nothing until they're 18.
It got us fooled, right? We don't get to know what's in them per se unless you're a diligent parent and you're asking these questions, but you're so bang on. If I was to take those ingredients, separate them out and administer them to my children one by one, I would be thrown in jail. I would be taken away from me, but I could go to a doctor and have them injected directly into their body, and that's okay.
Right. It makes no sense, right? So, that's, that's my big mission. I believe that we're in a very unique time where, even though I'm really pulled back from wasting any of my time going in, obviously there's enough evidence there to show that there's people capable of depopulating, planning out a depopulation and trying to carry it out. So, it certainly looks like this is a big part of their system. Now, the graphene oxide inside of people, that is the keystone ingredient to their plan. Without graphene oxide inside of people and aluminum, so that's why I call the two super threats, aluminum and graphene oxide. With those two things at a real low level in the body, that's the way where we don't have to worry about that problem. So
I think we have some other agenda coming along here real soon. If you pay attention to some of the language today, there's definitely talk about children. And if you look at where 5G towers are, there's a lot of them around schools. And if we think about how electromagnetic frequency interacts with graphene oxide and what can be done there, the next pandemic could be involving children being sick from EMF and graphene oxide. And
then they'll blame it on something.
Yeah, now we got to quarantine the kids.
Well, that's what they do with swine flu, everything. Yeah, the book, The Invisible Rainbow, if you ever get a chance to read that, and then where you can actually, there's so much evidence, like the Spanish flu, the DDT poisoning, all of it is when they actually introduce new forms of poisoning. So if you introduce new microwaves, radio waves, electricity waves, Wi-Fi waves, 3G, 4G, 5G. Every time they raise those hertz, the old style TVs were like 50 hertz. So you've heard of the Schumann resonance, I'm sure. It's 7.83 hertz. So that's what all living creatures that thrive till they die, because we're the only animals that don't thrive till we die, right? You don't look at an animal usually and be like, that's a real old deer. They kind of kick some butt until they die, And those things, they're always grounded. They're always grounded to Mother Earth, right? They don't wear shoes. And so they're always at 7.83 hertz. And so that big fluctuation of waves, that's really disruptive. They talk about the mRNA spike protein. That's really, they've seen that forever since they've had microscopes. And that is really just, that happens from a little bit of extra waves that hit the thing. And then you'll see the spike effect, spike protein. It's just cellular breakdown. It's the cell getting very sick, starting to collapse on itself. Yeah, man, it's a trip. It's a big leap in my head sometimes, but when you're overwhelmed with evidence, and that's kind of why I really see that I have a good chance to impact millions and hopefully billions of people. My job is to steward and protect it, and I got a team of people that are forethought thinkers that are look ahead. PayPal, Stripe, they held 70 grand on us when we were brand new. They do it all at once. They squeeze you. And if I didn't have the people in place that are all around me that literally like my guy does my back end stuff. He had 4 merchants and 4 payment processors before I knew. He's like, nah, man. Then when one drops you, I just turn on the button and it just goes to the next payment process. Now Stripe and PayPal can't mess with you. This is how we do it. Yeah. And to have all those kind of people, Robert Young, I got a right hand man, Jimmy, that gives me perspective on everything. We're going to try and help humanity. This one's for humanity. It really is, man. So that's why it's affordable.
And with the metals, one of the things that happens in the body is they're good for parasites, right? So tell us a little bit about how metals and parasites interact and what negative consequences that have on them.
So parasites show up for a reason, right? Parasites don't eat good stuff. They eat bad stuff. They eat metals. So they show up when the inner environment starts getting more and more poisoned and you have more and more metals. And so the more your inner terrain environment, which also means it's going to be more acidic. And so when the inside of your environment starts getting more acidic, more higher with heavy metals, then you're going to start seeing a higher level of parasites. So, I understand the whole idea of parasites are bad because it is a bad sign that they're there, right? But they're at that point, you're soldiers. And so you don't necessarily want to disrupt the life's natural cycles. That's in my way of thinking. I don't expect anybody, I can't explain where I come, the reason why I have whatever beliefs I have. I don't have the time for that. But what I've learned with parasites is as your body is depoisoned and you get clean, they're not there. They're not there in a clean environment. They just won't even, they're not interested. They're not, it's like flies don't show up in a clean environment. So, but parasites, there's definitely a direct correlation to the amount of metals you got in your body and the amount of parasites you got, for sure. Yeah.
And so removing the metals is one solution, and obviously your technology has been very effective at doing so. What other things can people do in stack of what they're using with MasterPeace to expedite that and really rebuild their health from the inside out?
I believe in the alkaline diet. It's one by Dr. Robert Young, and it's learning how to be, like Hippocrates said, you want to be your own doctor, right? So you want to learn to monitor your own health, and by peeing on a pH strip and understanding how your pH slightly goes up and down during the day, and learning how to alkalize your diet, and then coming to a whole new realization of this. So learning how to monitor your pH is the next big one. But you want to know this fact. When you are first made, you're one red blood cell. And then as you needed to grow a nose, grow a shoulder, grow a bone, grow your belly button, whatever, when you became a baby, it was all done. The red blood cell is the only cell with no nucleus. Red blood cells have never had a nucleus. They pleomorphosize. It's very much well documented by Béchamp, by Dr. Robert Young. It's irrefutable, ironclad, the way it works. So your red blood cell is kind of like your energy and your life force too. It makes, if you need to make something in your body, like your body always needs to adapt and shift, it's done with red blood cells. So learning how to nourish your red blood cells is key. And you do that with drinking a lot of mineral water, really. You want to drink a real good, reverse osmosis water, distilled water with mineral water, when you're talking about flushing toxins out of the body, if you take MasterPeace is going to significantly reduce those. Now, that doesn't do anything to open up your lymphatic system and different things, your extra routes. So if you actually drink mineral water and then do an infrared sauna along with taking MasterPeace, you will be purifying your body all the time and replacing it with exactly what it is, 99.9% mineral water that's structured. And so if you take that in and then you get into a high quality infrared sauna thing, it will push out the toxins at a real accelerated rate. And mentally, emotionally, your cognitive thinking, right? Your ability to hold focus. And like for me, if I hold a conversation with you after 1 or 2 seconds, I feel connected as I'm talking to you. There's a natural duty and honor and what I feel towards human being in all life. And as we get real, that wasn't the way it's always been for me. And I think that kind of stuff all comes more and more online the more we're depoisoned. And so the best way I figured it out is that leave Mother Nature, leave Creator, leave God's invention, whatever we are, wherever we come from, whatever you believe in, it doesn't matter. Our bodies are right if it's not poisoned. Our bodies are good. So get the poisons out. MasterPeace, infrared sauna. There's a lot of stuff, though. There's a lot of stuff that helps. Chlorophyll's great. I mean, everybody knows a lot of those different things that I could rattle off. But, bentonite clays and stuff. I would definitely say EDTA is not an option. EDTA is ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. It's formaldehyde, sodium cyanide, formaldehyde, acid, together with water, and they sell it as a natural concoction to get down your graphene levels, which it does get your graphene levels down, gets them down from the micrometer size down to the nanometer size, which means now they can't be tested for, but now it means there's 1,000 vicious soldiers of graphene instead of one big one. So everybody's been on that EDTA kick. People do not research like they should. So I would say stick to Mother Nature. If it comes from any pharmacy, it should not even be considered. It was made in a place that patents things, meaning making them unnatural so that they can patent them. You know, you can't patent a person until you can genetically modify them. And now they're a GMO, and now you can patent them, just like Bill Gates, you know. So we're in a system that's very faulty. So I wouldn't get anything from the system. I would learn to be your own doctor. You better supply yourself with your own food. Anything you rely on from them is always going to be poisoned until they prove otherwise. That's my take. Until they're proved that they're not trying to poison our kids, I'll consider anything they give.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And that is why the patenting system is leveraged so heavily by them. And they shut down things that are not patentable. There's no money in it for them.
Right.
Because there's no money in it, they can't have it get out there because they're all about making the money.
Right. And they buy them up. Problem is, I'm in a 20-year-old. Like, if I turn my phone right now, guess what? I'm the only one that gets the right things, and I'm in a 20-year-old camper. Why? Because my health is my wealth. I got an adorable family waiting for me. We're healthy. We're happy. Nothing else really matters in life. If you can live a life like that, and your loved ones and everybody's okay, isn't that what we all need anyways? That's where peace and serenity come from.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. They had 70. Right before we opened up, which is in May, for thing, I had a guy, he had an armored fleet he picks up billionaire, he flies around the world. He had his own helicopters, dude, flying his armored vehicles. I shit you, I'm not kidding you right now. And he was going to be buying it. He's bought in other stuff, but he was Jacques, and he offered 70 million. And I just thought it was just I said, okay, well, I just wanted to know how much. And, you know, really this whole thing has been put together for humanity. That's why it's affordable. That's why every time we could make the formula better, we did. We never increased the cost. We've upgraded everything 10, 15 times. We would tell people about it so that they understood it and knew how it was helping better and what it showed, the testing and analysis on it. But we never charged more. This whole thing has been put together just because it needed to be for humanity and mankind in the world. It was that.
So there's been zeolite has been around for a while.
Oh yeah,
what's been going on with it recently that's kind of brought it back to the forefront? I'm hearing things about synthetic zeolite being made and consumed. You know, the disinformation to put it down. You know, there's definitely a war on information, so to speak, right now, and it happening real time. What are some of the things that you're seeing? What is this synthetic zeolite? Should people be using it?
Well, the whole coordinated smear campaign that went on with zeolites in the last 2 months was all directed at MasterPeace. But the way it started and kicked off was the way they always do it, which is just do a blanket smear article. So Dr. Anna Mahalcia published an article on zeolites where she referenced how they were helping to make the graphene biosystem exacerbate it, make it worse. Well, the article that she linked in that, when she referenced it, if anybody would have just taken the time to touch that link, just to go to the next, like here, this is where it's referencing. She just made a claim. Here's her reference. If they would hit that link, it was for synthetic zeolites, which, of course, zeolite is very abundant. How many volcanoes have there been? How long has there been ocean water that the lava hits? It's been going on since millions and millions of years. Why would anybody make a synthetic zeolite? Why? Because they can patent it. But the problem is, anything that's synthetic, it's called man playing God techniques. And I promise you, no matter how many millions of dollars of equipment you got in your lab, if you're trying to take creation and trying to make it patentable, it has never been an upgrade in quality ever. So you get into synthetic. So she started off with that, and then there was a bunch of minions that came in and made videos, and they were all rubbish videos. But people that don't know what dark field microscopy, bright field, STEM, scanning, transmission, electron microscope, and they don't know nano. So nano, if you're actually talking about getting something inside of a cell, it has everything to do with electricity, magnetism, electromagnetism, and the particle size. And so the reason why the nanotechnology stuff is all because it has to be 100 nanometers or smaller to be small enough to actually enter a cell. Because a cell is like 1,000 nanometer. Well, it's about 7,000 nanometers or 7 micrometers. So it has to be a lot smaller than that to get inside of it, right?
Yep.
So that's the whole nanotechnology. That's the whole nano thing. But with the zeolites, it was funny. Here's the funny part. Every single person that wrote an article against zeolites in the last 2 months, all of them are practitioners, nurses, medical doctors. Their practice involves this. Guess what? Someone has a vaccine injury. Someone feels bad. They think they've been shedded on. They go on to the computer, or they know, like Dr. Anna Mahalcia or Rhea with long haulers. Then they go on to their thing. Oh, I'm not feeling good. And they say, okay, honey, I'm here to help. And this is what they do. Matthew, you got to come down here. I got to take your blood. We're going to take a look at your blood. Depending on what we see, we'll go from there. Okay. That's only going to be $150. All right, so you go down there, you do that. Every single person they've ever seen, guess what they do? They find the graphene in there. Say, oh my God, honey, look, I see graphene in your blood. Don't freak out. Okay, we got ozone machines, we got intravenous EDTA, intravenous vitamin C. It's all part of their protocol. And so what EDTA is it's for them. These people that did this whole smear campaign against the zeolites, which is a natural mineral from Mother Nature, all those people all push $1,500, $1,200, $2,100 clinical things where they say, okay, Matthew, we're going to clean it out of you. You need 3 sessions to 10 sessions. Each session is $1,500. You got to come here every 3 weeks. We're going to give you intravenous EDTA. We're going to ozone your blood. We're going to give you intravenous vitamin C. Anna Mahalcia gives you methylene blue. We're going to run you through the gauntlet. Now, guess what? You got to drive to their office, get needles, very invasive, very much a commitment, and spend all the money. Do you think these people want a 53 bottle of MasterPeace around that people can just look? How about this? Here, this is how invasive MasterPeace is to your life. This is how it changed. See, it just messed up my whole day. Look. That's how easy it is. And it lasts you 50 days. It's $1 a day. It's the same. They can't buy it out. They don't want it there. It's the same thing that the pharmaceutical companies don't want natural things there that they can't patent. So what do? They offer money. Well, the person has to be corruptible in that position. If he's operating for humanity, and he truly is, that person is going to be hard to, So that's the reason why you're seeing everything that you actually seen against zeolites. And MasterPeace. And that's, we knew when we started seeing people's lives improving, their health and what they were saying and what we were non-potty trained, non-verbal, autistic kids, potty trained and speaking words in a week, seeing things like that starts waking you up quick to the reality of, oh, hold on. This is going to get attacked really bad. It's unavoidable, and we got thick skin for it.
Yeah, well, hey, man, the doing what's right and being a warrior for good today is so important. And unfortunately, they've got the population so brainwashed to believe that the only people who can help you heal is a pharmaceutical company and a doctor. And the proof, though, is right in front of you. If you cut your finger, it will heal.
Right.
Your body does that.
Right.
If you have the ideal nutrients inside, you can heal. But
Yep.
if you're bombarded with chemicals and heavy metals and poisons, which are in our air, our food, our soil, our water, our body is under constant attack. It's never getting a chance to heal.
Right.
And we've been fooled to believe that you need to be eating from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed.
Right.
So your body spends all of its energy digesting food instead of actually healing itself, which is why people have such a tremendous healing effect when they actually will fast for a few days.
Yeah.
And the body gets a chance to stop using energy towards breaking down food and actually gets a chance to utilize energy towards healing itself. See, again, there's no money in healthy people.
Right.
Just like there's no money in an abundance of food produced by nature, which is what food forest abundance. We leverage nature and work with nature instead of fighting.
Right. And it works perfectly to be in harmony.
Yeah. The way we grow food today, people never even think about this. The way we grow food at a monoculture farm or an annual garden, you fight nature every step of the way, which is why it's so time, energy, and resource intensive. Because nature is relentless. It's never going to lose.
Right.
So it takes you putting on chemicals. It takes you out there weeding every day. But no one's weeding and watering and doing the things in my forest, but it's growing, right?
Yep.
Because nature is abundant. And if we leverage nature and work with that abundance, that God or whatever the creator was that brought all of this here, there's no money in it. But that's the way that we should all be living. And it's
absolutely
time for us to wake up and realize that these big corporations and governments, they're not doing things because they care about you. Not saying all these people are bad, but we've been conditioned in a world where it's so driven by these dollars, and that if you get in the way of money, they'll block you. They'll do whatever they can to shut you down. I've used a number of wellness products that Health Canada has shut down. One of them being human fulvic acid. It was helping people heal. Can't have that. Got to shut that down so we can get them their chemical patented product.
Right. They'll give you as much of that as you want too. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Health Canada shut us down 3 weeks ago. We are excited though. We will be launching our new product line within a month. We haven't made the announcement on our formal lines yet, but we will have a new MasterPeace for pets, and it's amazing. So it's formula is the same. The dosing obviously is different because animals weigh less, but the bottles are the same size. But those will be available in Canada.
Well, and you can always go.
Your pets won't go without MasterPeace, at least.
Yeah, and you can always do it to heal the soil. Wink, wink.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that's how I was able to get my humic fulvic back into my life. Is it's now sold to heal soil. Great.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So the powers that be that control and pull the strings, that regulate the regulatory agencies, that control the associations and the universities and the funding dollars and the research, all of that'll tell you a story about what's really going on.
Yep. And
if you don't pay and follow along after being paid, you'll lose your funding. They'll pull you out of it, right? So it's today, being a man like you are, standing up for truth and fighting for what is truly possible when we work in harmony with nature and embracing that, and I applaud you for it.
Thank you, brother. The same with you and Jim, because it really seems, from what I've heard and from what little bit we vetted and whatnot. And I have a great friend of mine, Sean Stanton, and he worked for Jim too. And what Sean tells me holds a ton of weight. And he had, he was really, he couldn't say enough about Jim. And I don't hear him talk about men like that. So, what you guys are doing for the good and for humanity and for what's right, and still being, we need to all keep going. I think for us, I think it's just in our nature and it's in our bones. It's, I get to live a life where I've gotten to make all bad decisions that I've learned from. And it's really brought me full circle to really appreciating all the things that truly matter. And, getting to wake up every day, knowing I get to make the world a better place. And what I'm doing is absolutely using my number one precious commodity, for me is my time, energy, and focus. That's the most I can give you. If I give you my time, my energy, and my focus, that's the best I can give you. And if I'm putting that, my time, energy, and focus is being used to help people in an incredible way. This last week, we just got up with the country of Peru. They can't afford MasterPeace. One of their main community people that has a bunch of schools and a bunch of abandoned elders shelters, such a support area that when people can't pick their own food or move around, they just have to abandon the elders. So they have a huge abandoned elder problem. And so he has a huge amount of communities, and he's like, hey, we're suffering bad down here, man. He goes, I know it's a pipe dream, but even if you could send 5 bottles, it'd be great. I'm like, dude, what do you need? Like, MasterPeace was made to be affordable. And if you can't afford it, you still gonna get your MasterPeace, because I'm not freaking not doing it. So we're able to take care of countries now. Now we're starting with a country that is going to be given hundreds and hundreds of people right off the bat, possibly 1,000 people right off the bat with the first shipment that will be getting MasterPeace. And, that getting to operate around men of your guys' caliber and getting to do what I do is most fulfilling thing. It's all the purpose I could ever want. And getting to do it every day, no matter what the cost ever is worth it to me, because we only got, as far as I know, I believe differently, but as far as I know, I only got this life here to make a difference. And my little girl, I gotta make a better world for her to have a chance in, because this place right now, if you look at it too closely, it looks like it's going to hell in a handbasket. So, we gotta keep doing what we're doing, which I know is the easy part for us. We can't stop if we wanted to.
No, and I think we're at a spot where you have a large amount of the population who is realizing we've been lied to in many ways. So they're now starting to make questioning a key of how they live. They're asking more questions. They're starting to do their own research. They're not just taking one opinion. And that being said, don't just take ours. Go look around.
Right.
Go do some of your
Don't
own
believe. Think for yourself. Do your own research.
Absolutely. And because we're seeing that massive shift, they're realizing the media is telling them bullshit story. Their governments don't really care for them. The big corporations that currently run the world, the BlackRocks, the Vanguard, right? Those guys own every single
everything
that exists. They manipulate them for their advantage, not yours. And at the end of the day, it's time for you to take your power back.
Yep, that's
power
right.
back. And by doing so, we can create a way that we turn our backs on the nonsense.
That's right.
A society that's driven by abundance, where we are all caring for one another and supporting one another and advancing human consciousness, reconnecting to ourselves, right?
Yep.
Not being detached. By the time most people today are 17, 18 years old, they're looking to move out of their own house and move away from their family. And then you have these massively divided families who end up spending the rest of their lives lonely and depressed, and we seek outside validation from entertainment that doesn't mean shit, right? Swiping on the phone, distracted from this and that, alcohol, drugs, blah, 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 when really all that we should be doing is connecting again. We need to be more connected as a humanity.
Yeah.
And working together and supporting one another and realizing that everything is here for us. Abundance is all around us. We're not separate from nature. We are part of nature. And that belief that we're separate from nature is a big problem.
Right. It absolutely is. That's that narcissistic energy when you're so disconnected that you don't realize other things have feelings, other things matter as much as you do. All that, and it's just a disconnect that is there. Yeah. And, really those poisons, those metals, all these unnatural things inside of our bodies, inside of our minds, stuck in all of us. If those things weren't there, the body would be operating naturally in the way it should. Mm-hmm. And then people wouldn't be sheeple, and then they would be able to critically think. And at that point, that's a big problem to the people that control the world and need us dumbed down and need people ignorant and slow and apathetic and complacent. They need you there because there's not that many of them. And that's, You know, they want to, I think they want to turn up a button, which they can easily do with the graphene oxide and all that. And then they just turn up the frequency to more than what a lot of them do it. And then they just going to get the population down. And the people that are still alive, they're thinking they're going to be so happy just to still be alive that they'll just do whatever. But the people that are going to survive it are going to be the rough. It's going to be the ones that are going to be savages. They're going to be the ones that are not, going to go down to the end. So yeah, it's a real even weird to even have those thoughts and that be reality, but it's reality when it's reality. And so it's so crazy, The truth is the truth, no matter how crazy it sounds. So
yeah, and the other truth is that we can create a new system that makes the old one obsolete.
Yes, but it's going to involve you growing your own food. It's going to involve you doing your own work for your own survival. It's going to be us a lot more like animals, like we are, doing the things that animals do. They don't have things sweeping up their carpets. They don't have carpet. Either they don't have shoes. They don't have to know how to tie their shoes. There's all this stupid things they do to people outside of them teaching them how to connect. Animals are always connecting, feeling their environment, living in their environment, living in the now. Imagine if we used our human consciousness, which, plants, they got to grow to the sunlight. They can't just not grow to the sunlight. Their instincts are their instincts. You're not going to get a small animal to run at a lion. It's just instinctually not going to do it. Now, a person can make a gun, can run at a lion and take it out. I mean, we can override, we control everything. Our human consciousness is the biggest commodity and resource on earth. That's why they go after it. That's why they want to program your mind, own your mind, make a computer system from the inside out. But if we could get ourselves back to nature and let our mind just be its awesome self, it's kind of like not letting your ego run itself and run you, or your pride. It's like you put it in its right, it's still there. It doesn't run you at all. It's just like doesn't have a say anymore, and it's nice to kind of think about if we could just get ourselves back to nature and let our consciousness just enjoy that, we would be in love. We would feel connection with our family. We would only have time for our family and what we were doing. And that's what makes us happy anyways, not fucking going to see Bob at work and stressing out over how you're going to make bills. Now I can't even sleep at night because my sleeping pills don't work. But then I got to stay up and think about how I'm going to pay my bills with this fucking money that shouldn't even exist. It's just all crazy.
Yeah. And send your kids away so you can go to work, right?
Right.
Your children to the government.
Right. Send them up to the government indoctrination camp, aka public school, So if they can get used to looking like driving a bus that looks like a prison into a building that looks like a prison, so that they have to ask when they got to go to the bathroom, and you better not go against the curriculum too much, and don't ask so many damn questions. They program you to be a monkey, and people fall for it. Why? Because they need a free babysitter so that they can go make fake money.
Yeah.
to buy food for the kids when they could have just been growing it.
Again, right? The brainwashing that's happening in the population is incredibly powerful.
Yep.
It's very real. It's happening every day, and it starts when you were born.
Yes. Yeah. Your parents, all your authority figures have been programmed, and they're all telling you what to think and feel and how to fall in line. Your peers, peer pressure is real, and so people never get a chance to learn even how to think. Yeah, you're right. My kids are different. My kids will never ever be. Not my older kids. I didn't know any of this stuff, but these new kids, they are born natural. They never had no sugar. These kids are el natural. They see chemtrails. They're like, why are they poisoning us? That's because that's all. The only talk they hear is to look at things like that.
Yeah.
They know about plants and animals. They know how to name plants and animals, not famous actors' names and brands and labels. So.
Well done, man. Well, hey, Matthew, I really appreciate your time. Before we wrap,
appreciate yours.
Why don't you share with everybody where they can find you, where your website's at, and
so absolutely, if you're in this world and you're breathing the air to survive, then you have poisons in your body that are affecting your health. And we want you to be at your best health. We want you to be able to think your best, feel your best, physically, emotionally, mentally, and everything. Okay. And so if you are interested in something that will cost you about $1 a day, that will support your best sleep, support your best restfulness, your most mental clarity, all those kind of things that make or break how good your day goes, then please go to MasterPeace. But here's the deal. It's not peace like PIECE. It's like peace on earth. MasterPeace. So MasterPeace by BYHCS, which stands for Human Consciousness Support. So that's MasterPeace by HCS.com. That's the website. You'll see an email. Email us, and you'll just ask us, just tell us that you heard about us from the show, and we'll get you taken care of. So we're not at MLM. We do have an affiliate system. It's a very great one. Just put together for the people. Truly was. It doesn't involve, there's no membership fees, obligations. There's no catches to sign up. You do have to sign up if you ever want to order a bottle. But give yourself a chance. This has no side effects. We've proven that in a peer-reviewed clinical study that's been published. And, you're going to see how you feel and live when you have, yes, right there. Perfect.
There you go.
Perfect. That right there, if you can have that anywhere that they can click on later, so that they can click on that. And then that is perfect.
Of every one of the shows.
Yeah. Yeah. Make it easy for people, because what we found is everybody rebuys MasterPeace. So they may run out after their first bottle, and then they don't reorder because they can't tell how much of a difference it's making or not. And then after about 2 or 3 weeks of the toxins coming in and not getting it out, they start feeling all the same old crap that they had forgotten that they really aren't feeling anymore. And then they order more. And so, our system is real simple. We don't have people that can just order. We want to know where you came from. We want the right person to get the right credit, because this is a grassroots thing. This has to be done from the people up. So nobody can get left behind or screwed over. So our system doesn't allow just random people to find our website and go on there and order. That's why I was going to have them go to that website so that they could email Matt, and then Matt Sinnott, who does the customer service, would give them the right link. So awesome. Yes, we got to fight for this world. Our world is worth it, everybody.
Absolutely, it is. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I would love to have you back on with Dr. Young.
Heck yeah. He's available for this anytime. I'm serious.
Yeah,
he loves to help.
Let's chat a little bit more here and line that up.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in today. We really appreciate you watching, and give yourself some MasterPeace zeolite. Get these heavy metals out of your system. Get rid of these parasites that live on those things and are making you sick, because your life does truly depend on it. And as always, we look forward to seeing you again soon on the Seeds of Abundance show. Have yourself an amazing day. Show is officially over.
Hey.